It's March 22nd, 2021. This is Roqe. Well, her voice is a memorable instrument that has been heard everywhere from jazz clubs to Oscar-winning films to electronic collaborations and theatrical productions. She is the singular Sussan Deyhim, and she is the Iranian-American vocalist, composer, and performance artist who can stop you in your tracks with her sublime musical presence. She's recently presented an acclaimed multimedia tribute to Fourough Farrokhzad, and she joins us for a feature interview today about her journey, her craft, and her passion. Sussan Deyhim coming up. Plus, we have your letters about our home video. This is Conversations from, to, and about the Iranian diaspora. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. This is Roqe. Hi there. Welcome to episode number 95 of Roqe, coming to you from Toronto, Canada, with a salute to all of you joining us from around the world. Khosh amadin. Welcome. Durud bar shoma. Umeedwar hastam ke mizun bashin. We are on an ongoing mission to build a new audiovisual encyclopedia of Iranian diaspora identity. You can find us on SoundCloud, Instagram, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Castbox, and Telegram. An exciting show today. Big first show of the new year. First show of the spring. First post-Nowruz show. Strap yourselves in, everyone. Captain Reza is here. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. Nowruz Piruz.
Nowruz Piruz to you guys, to you as well.
Groovy Shaya.
Hi, happy Nowruz.
Yes, thank you, Shaya. Right, down to business, Shaya. Hi, happy Nowruz. The fabulous Kian.
Hi, Jian.
Hello,
happy Nowruz.
Kian. Thank you. I mean, we've said this to each other on camera in our Nowruz video. Let's get to that in a second. Sussan Deyhim coming up in a few minutes. What an impressive and diverse career she has had. She really embodies the notion of multidisciplinary artist. She's a dancer, a singer, a visual artist, a composer, more. She has worked with everyone from Shirin Neshat to Peter Gabriel to the Blue Man Group to Jerry Garcia. You know who Jerry Garcia is, Shaya?
Please let
Have you ever heard of a band called The Grateful Dead?
Grateful Dead.
Yes. No? Oh, all right. They were.
Neither have I.
Oh my God! Do you know who the Grateful Dead are? Oh boy! This is definitely. It's not just an age thing. It's definitely a function of the fact that you guys didn't grow up here.
I grew up here.
I don't know what your problem is. The Grateful, especially when you find out who the Grateful Dead are. The Grateful Dead were. There you go. The Grateful Dead were the ultimate jam band. They were from the 1960s into the 70s and then early in through the 80s. But they basically were the forerunners of the idea of what became Deadhead culture. The Grateful Dead, Deadheads, and Deadheads were basically stoners or folks doing drugs who would follow them around from show to show, tape the concerts, and get lost in drugs and effervescence. So. And Jerry Garcia was the lead singer and songwriter. If it was because he's died now, but the Grateful Dead, and then there's a bunch of other bands that came after them, like more recent bands like Fish or the Dave Matthews Band or whatever, that followed in the tradition of the Grateful Dead, of like long jams on stage while everybody would have a toke and yeah. Wow. So that's why. Kian,
it's
I'm shocked.
Big deal.
You failed. You failed class 101 of being a stoner.
I'm not a stoner.
Well,
I grew up with hip hop. Let's put it that way. I wasn't really big on
Well, that explains
rock.
why you don't know the Grateful Dead. But aren't you you're an aspiring stoner? I mean, you're trying
Not
to be a
really.
stoner.
No, I do once a month, and you know the
Once a
reason
month?
why. Yes.
Oh, really? Is it just once a month?
No, for like a few days. That one
Oh, okay.
week.
All right.
You know the infamous week.
All right.
Let's not go there this time.
Right. Anyway, Sussan Deyhim worked with Jerry Garcia. But do you know who Peter Gabriel is, Kian? I mean,
Sounds familiar.
oh boy. All right.
Oh,
all right,
no,
all right.
that's
Can you
that's
sing me a
unacceptable.
song?
Peter Gabriel was the first singer of Genesis, the band Genesis. Nothing?
Sounds
All right.
familiar.
This is not good. This is not a good look for us. Let's move on. So, Sussan Deyhim. Yeah, In Your Eyes. You know that song? No. Nothing.
Sounds like Phil Collins.
Well, okay. So Phil Collins was followed Peter Gabriel as the lead singer of Genesis.
There we go.
Okay.
But Gabriel is considered much more innovative. So real Peter Gabriel fans would take umbrage at you saying Phil Collins. This is ridiculous. Why am I mean, do you know who the Beatles are?
Actually,
I mean, what's going on
yes,
here?
I'm
There was a band
actually-
called the Beatles, and then there was Bob Dylan, and then the Radiohead. I mean, do you recognize any of these names?
yes, I do.
So good though.
If it was Dariush, you guys know, but not you know the music from the 1950s of Iran, but you don't know the Grateful Dead. It's very interesting. Anyway, Sussan Deyhim coming up, and just if she'll still come on the show. Hopefully, she's not listening in right now. I mean, I wasn't even. These were the big. She's also worked with like Ornette Coleman. I know you're not going to know Ornette Coleman's like this incredible jazz. You know, he was basically the inventor of free jazz. It's amazing. You know, I left those names out. I was like Gabriel, Blue Man Group.
Yes,
Okay,
of course.
you know the Blue
Yeah,
Man Group.
yeah.
All right, she's
Yeah.
worked with the Blue.
Listen, I wasn't a musician. You and Shia have that.
That's
edge.
true. Shia, no
what?
excuse. There's no excuse.
no
Shia.
excuse, Shia.
The
Shame.
Grateful Dead. I thought you would know the Grateful Dead.
No, I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's all right. I mean, there's not, it's
Jazz.
all right. Happy post Nowruz. Did you have a nice Nowruz weekend, Captain Reza?
Yeah, it was great.
All
Spend
right.
it with family,
Some
friends.
sabzi pulaba mahi.
That's right. Yeah,
right.
some sabzi pulava.
And I had sabzi pulaba mahi as well. Did anyone not have sabzi pulaba?
I don't think so.
You didn't.
I
You did.
I
All
had
right,
sabzi
right.
pulama.
And Shai done?
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
yes.
Well, we also made sabzi pulaba mahi
Yeah.
in our home video, which we released. Now, I should explain. I've been waiting to do this because while it's gotten a bunch of thousands of views there on the Instagram and the YouTube, half of our audience or more is on SoundCloud and Spotify and iTunes. In fact, definitely a majority of our audience. So you guys may not know that we put this video out because obviously it's not an audio video. So it's so if you're on SoundCloud or Spotify or iTunes, that's where you normally consume your Roqe diet. You can just go to one of our other platforms or our website and to see this. But we put out a Nowruz video, and it was based on the challenge of, that this idea that I had last week. Let's get together and do a Nowruz, and we're going to only speak in Farsi. And I'm thrilled that people are loving it, but and it's very nice, the comments and stuff. But if it had been left to me, I would not have released this. I mean, I appreciate that people think it's sweet, and it's not even that my broken Farsi is not perfect. Although I think I fare okay. I think Keon does all right. I just hate the way, I talked about a couple of shows ago, like that I was, I bulked up somehow. I've been eating too many peste. I don't know what happened. My clothing wouldn't fit me. Well, now, today, I mean, how do I look?
You look great.
Right. In just a week, I've shrunk down to my normal size. But when we did this video, I mean, I don't know what I was thinking, allowing you guys to shoot this video and put this video out. I look back at it and I'm just like, I look like one of those I look like a guy who's a rock star, Axel Mahmoud Rose, like a bloated old, like guy who's drunk too much. He's and I'm traumatized. I was just thinking, people watching this, in bichare chi shode? What has happened to this guy? It's like I
don't think
I
any of
look
us-
like a ship.
No.
I'm huge.
You are exaggerating.
And you guys all look so good.
No,
I mean,
no, I don't think
Shia
any of
looks
us
like a
are.
matinee idol.
His
Beautiful.
mother was
Reza.
worried if he looks sick. What did your
Yeah,
mother say?
my mom called me after watching the video and, are you sick? Kolye, kabed. Is it good? Are you
He
fine?
looks all right. I look like I have AIDS.
Oh my god! I don't think
look
any
like
of us
I'm in
are
a
happy.
bad like I'm going down. Like I need.
I was trying to hide in the corner. I didn't want to
Keon,
be
you
seen.
look great.
No, yeah.
You
No,
look very lovely.
I have also put on weight, Jian. Seriously.
Listen, there's nothing that is worse than the way I look in that video. But the video is very sweet, and thank you to all the comments that people are making, and it's very funny. And
Yeah.
and you know, by the way, I've had a couple comments where people are like, I can't believe you guys didn't know what the half if the half scene is.
My
and all.
family wanted to kill me.
But our whole idea is, I mean, we do a long form interview show. I like to at least think that I do meticulous research, and we do interviews as smartly as we can. And so this was supposed to be a break from that. And the agenda was, let's not plan anything. Let's turn the cameras on. Let's not script or know what we're going to say, and just kind of wing it. And you know, so yeah, we all come off a bit stupid. But I mean, you know, because we don't know some of the things. Like I can't believe I didn't know Sanjed. You know, and I called it Khorma.
I
Yeah.
just
But
It's better than Kian. It's haste, samanu, It was horrible.
I can't do it in Farsi. I'm sure I would have done a better job in English.
and all these things, like I had practiced that poem. That was the only thing
Oh,
I
no.
practiced. And once the cameras were rolling,
practiced?
I practiced it.
Oh, God.
I was like, I was ready with that poem. And then I don't know, it's just like, and you know,
I say we redo it. In a week's time, we're going to be in better shape.
I'm
We'll
telling
look
you,
better.
right today, I'd be like, I keep thinking I should just like post some pictures on Instagram to wash away the look of that video. Like people just like, oh my God, you know, I look like Pavarotti or something, you know. It's just like,
Oh my god.
Wow.
I'm just,
But isn't that motivation now? You're never going to.
no, I swear, 100%. Like I'm just done. I'm done with, there'll be
Pissed.
no more. Yeah, it's over. I'm back to my, you know, but you know, the classic Persian feedback, I got to say something about this, which is, you like that one, Shia? The Pavarotti? Yeah.
Pavarotti was the best.
Yeah, I mean Pavarotti already looked kind of Persian, you know, so like it fits. The classic Persian feedback, I gotta say, like social media, we all know there's trolls, and of course I've dealt with them, and so you'll get the person who'll just go, you know, that somebody you've never heard of, and you just like delete, block, whatever.
Yeah.
But I love the classic Persian feedback from friends, you know, and, supposedly friends, like these people who are follow you on Instagram or Facebook. So like we post a video, right? And I mean, we did get a lot of nice, but so this guy, I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to dog him. He's a really nice guy and an interesting guy. But this guy, he on my Facebook or on one of my platforms, he writes like 6 paragraphs, you know, underneath, and he's one of the first commenters about the spelling of Nowruz, you know, in the title of our video, which we spelled Nowruz. And he's like, this is an agenda, you know, you're buying into the group think, and this is like, that's not the Iranian way to spell all this, you know. And because he wants us to spell it Noroz, Nowruz, which actually I think that is phonetically a smarter way to spell it. And I used to spell that it's that way for years. But every time I did that, I would get a bunch of people yelling at me going, no, it's spelled Nowruz, because that has become the...
Yeah.
So I mean, and then there's other people commenting. I mean, this is like, there's 30 like messages about just the spelling
Oh
of
my
Nowruz.
God.
And I called my sister last night. I was like, you know, what's this like? Is it weird that we used Nowruz? Because this year I just decided to defer to what I see out there, because Ironica and UNESCO and the White House and whatever, you'd spell it Nowruz. So you might as well. And my sister said, no, this is the way language, my sister's a linguist, you know, this is the way language evolves. And basically, the majority usage, you know, when a word is, the spelling of a word or the use of a word is used by the most people, it becomes de facto the standard for that word. That's so. In other words, this is the way you spell Nowruz now, because this is the way all the major institutions and people are using it. So you're just spitting upstream trying to go Noroz. So anyway, this guy's yelling about that. Then somebody else comes on and with the old, because on our video we put Nowruz home video in Farsi. So then, of course, the guy's like,
Persian.
in Farsi is the Farsi word for Persian. I think you mean in Persian, and puts a link to like some site on the internet to explain this to me. How people think that I've been talking about being Persian and using Farsi and stuff for 20 years on the air, and like all those years in radio, I would always talk about Farsi and Persian. This always came up. How someone would think that I've never thought about this, right? Of course I've thought about it. I tend to not care, and I use them interchangeably. But so then there's a whole explanation about that. Then there's somebody else that comes on
Oh my God.
and goes, the problem with this is it's not the year 1400. You know this one now?
Oh my God.
This was this Reza Shah started this whole thing, and actually it's the year 25, and you should have in the video said happy 2580, or I don't know what's going on? What is the calendar? Somebody explain the calendar to me. And then they're going to yell because I don't know this. What is going on? Why is it not 1400, Shaib? Can you explain?
No, actually it's 1400. No, really. The guy who invented this calendar was Omar Khayyam, and he created this calendar based on some event in Islam history. But 3 or 4 years before revolution, Shah suggested that we can change our calendar to the imperial calendar, and then but after revolution it again turned to the 1400.
Can I just say though that I appreciate these are I'm not against discourse, but I was just like, anyone want to comment on the video? Like we put up a video of us dancing, and the debate is like what year it is and how to spell Nowruz and the how we put Farsi instead of Persian. And I should say the majority of the comments were about the video, and it's really cute. We love it, all of that. The Roqe Team, but it was just so funny. It was like this is the classic Persian feedback.
I thought Nowruz was the one thing all Persians could agree on, but even that.
That's funny.
I just don't know any other. You know how much I love being Persian. We created this whole show, and my Persian identity is like so thick and strong. But I don't know any other culture that's debating, what the calendar is, like how we say our name, what the name of our language is. It's just so funny. It's like
You can't make everybody happy.
That's for sure. Line. That's for sure. Especially when you're putting out a video that looks like the 3 tenors in one person.
Who's the other 2 tenors?
Domingo and Carreras was actually quite slim. Yeah, but
that was a reference to Seinfeld episode.
Oh man. Anyway, listen. So for those of you who haven't seen it on our Instagram, and we've got I know why I thought. See, I was actually feeling a little better about the video.
Okay.
Because I look at it and I see Pavarotti, but other people were like, "Oh no, you look good, you're charming, whatever." And then in the letters, somebody said it. Somebody was like, "Oh, kheli topoli shode."
I think he was playing around with you because you mentioned it a few shows ago, so he was just teasing.
No, but that's enough. That's just I don't care about the other 1,000 letters. That's the one I saw, and I am never eating it again.
Do we have that letter?
I kept it.
So we're gonna have letters after Sussan Deyhim. We're gonna get to those letters. You can read all the letters about
why you looked really sad today. Earlier, I was like, "What's going on?" Was it something I said? Little did I know it's the letter.
Listen. All kinds of things have been said about me, but once you have to call me Topoli,
that's it. That's
really
that's the last straw.
That's the thing that'll get me going. I want to mention we've launched our patrons page. This is exciting for us. RoqeMedia.com is our website. You can go there and support us if you like our content, and if you're a regular Roqe person. We do this by crowdfunding, so we really appreciate it if you support Roqe and keep our content as ad-free as possible. $10 a month, $5 a month. Those are the options. You can do more if you want to, but we don't expect you to. So RoqeMedia.com, and just press the red support us button to become one of our patrons. We really appreciate it. All right. Groovy Shaya,
Yes.
Captain Reza, The fabulous Kian. By the way, Ponta the artist and Savi Roham are also in the video. Yes. And there's a bunch of our team members who are not in the video because we had to be careful for COVID reasons not to have a big party, and some of them aren't in town. So we're missing Chef Haas and producer Susan and Aray Merdad, and Fafel Negin is also, and Master Muhammad. But shout out to them as well. All right, time to get to our featured guest. Yes?
Yes.
There we go. My featured guest today is a composer, vocalist, performance artist, and activist who is known for her mesmerizing and mystical voice and for creating a unique sonic and vocal language rooted in Persian poetry and mysticism. Take a listen to this.
از جدایی ها شکایت می کند و از جدایی ها شکایت می کند.
Little taste of Beshnoazne, or Windfall, from her 2011 album City of Leaves, a composition, by the way, that was used by superstar rock band U2 on their massive 360 tour, played in conjunction with the song Sunday Bloody Sunday as something of an ode to the Green Movement in Iran from 2009. The voice you just heard is the singular Sussan Deyhim. Sussan is an Iranian-American artist who was born in Tehran. She got started early in her creative endeavors and was part of the National Ballet Company in Iran, starting at the age of 13. At the age of 18, in the mid-1970s, she joined the Béjart Ballet in Europe after receiving a scholarship to attend Béjart's performance art school, Mudra. She trained there in many of the world's dance, music, and theater traditions, as well as in classical ballet. Sussan then moved to New York in 1980 and started her glorious career in music, theater, dance, media, and film. She has released numerous solo projects and has collaborated with outstanding artists such as Ornette Coleman, Bobby McFerrin, Peter Gabriel, Bill Laswell, Rufus Wainwright, the Blue Man Group, Jerry Garcia, Branford Marsalis, and Shirin Neshat, among many others. She's also lent her musical talents to various film soundtracks, including The Last Temptation of Christ and Argo. Recently, Sussan has released a new album called La Belle et la Bête, presided over an acclaimed multimedia tribute to Fourouk Farrokhzad, and opened her own online gallery showcasing her design works. Yes, she has been busy. And right now, Sussan Deyhim joins me from Los Angeles today. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for inviting me to your show and to this Canadian-based radio station, right?
That's right. We're in Canada, but we like to think of this as a show of the world.
Well, it's good to know that you're in a civilized country, so that makes me happy.
Aren't you civilized now as well, post-election, or is it still working on that in the States?
Well, we have always looked for civilization, and we've kept being civilized for a long time. The problem is that a lot of other people are just not understanding the blessing of being civilized. They don't understand what it brings to them. So we're half and half, civilized and people who just think they're civilized, but I don't know what civilization that is.
It's funny to start the discourse around civilization because my first question to you is actually about how far back your inspiration goes. I mean, I want to get to your latest projects, but I just want to start with what we just heard. Much of your music and art, Sussan, is inspired by great masters of Persian poetry. That piece in the intro comes from a famous Rumi poem. And in your fabulous 2004 album, Madman of God, you used divine classical works of great Sufi poets, Rumi, Sadi, Jami, from the 11th, 19th centuries. Have you learned to put into words, because I'm sure you've been asked this before, what it is about these ancient poetic masters that has so inspired you in your creations?
Well, the this concept of earthiness, which khaki budan, and then the vibration, which is hal. There's a vibration that comes out of that poetry that it's humbling my being. Maybe it's because although I haven't been speaking Farsi, it still has this incredible grounding effect, and also this idea of being reverent towards something that's so much wiser than you are, and so much kinder, and so much more generous. And so when I have access to Iranian poetry, and especially when I have amazing friends who are scholars, and they read it in Farsi, and the interpretation is in Farsi, so that's like really time stops. And I think that partly is because it's just part of our genes, that idea of Sufism and mysticism. It is in our genes. So when you actually kneel towards Saadi or Rumi or Hafiz without that sense of sort of stupid complex of superiority or inferiority of like, oh, we're the best thing that happened, but just the sheer beauty of the words and the kindness and the wisdom. So it's just humbling, you know. I mean, I'm a progressive artist, so I don't look at ancient art in terms of a shelter and shrine. I look at it as part of my life.
So when you say it's in our genes, but we better be fortunate enough to have the right translation available. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that understanding the language in a concrete way, you really need guidance. You need people to. I know that I was working on a project, and I hope that this project comes together. And I was asking my very dear friend, an amazing scholar, Ahmad Karimi Hakkak, who was my not only translator but also the advisor on my Furuq Farrokhzad project. And Furuq Farrokhzad, the language is contemporary. I mean, and yet when you work with a scholar and they bring in the wealth of information, but not with a notion of like knowledge, but as a way to deconstruct something that you just said is like so above us. Is how do you like deconstruct the language so that it becomes like, you know, it becomes something that you completely relate to, you understand it.
Can I ask you about that vibration and what's happening musically, like in that piece we just heard in the intro? I'm so curious about about the architecture of what you just did there, because, you know, as a musician who came up in the Western contemporary tradition myself, you're playing in a rock band. I mean, I listen to that piece and think, how did she do this? I know it's not just improvisation, but I'm guessing it's not totally scripted either. How much of that recording, something like that, is visceral, or do you know exactly every single note that you're going to hit?
Well, I'm an electronic composer, so I do everything in my studio, and so I don't write the music before I perform it. And because of my collaborations with a lot of amazing jazz musicians, I'm an improviser. I believe in improvisation as a philosophical, musical, and life must do, because it prepares you for being really there a lot, being there all the time and respond to what happens. So as a result, I come up with ideas in my studio, and something about like an improvisation makes sense. There's something that's like a blossoming point of a composition or an idea. And then I will just take that and I just travel with it and see where it takes me, where I take it. So it's a real process. Sometimes it takes, you know, sometimes it's fast, sometimes quite lengthy, especially the background material on Bishnu Azne is a piece that was called Windfall. It's like 35 voices. And that is a real electronic processing. It's like many layers of harmonies, and then the processing, and then the processing. Again, to create this whirlpool of sonic alchemy.
it just doesn't sound like something that, where you would have a producer, hanging over your head and going, no, now go to this note or something. I mean, it just sounds too visceral. And yet, I figure you have some kind of roadmap. I'm fascinated by this idea, by the way, of living your life in an improvisational way. I mean, how far do you take that? Do you have a calendar? Do you have a schedule book? Do you have do you know where you're going in 2 hours? How improvisational can you be?
Just imagine every minute of your life being the last one, and be full on available to, to experience a certain level of inner joy and inner peace. And it's just so important. And nobody can bring it onto you. You could have everything you want, every money, every fame, every talent. If you don't concentrate on that very specific moment in time where you are here and now, and you appreciate a little tree in your neighborhood, a little bird sound, and it really means a lot to me. I really have to concentrate. I've been extremely, extremely busy during the COVID and lockdown, so it's not like you could detox by emotional detox. But talking to your friends, have a drink, and just simple things. You've got to do that for yourself. Otherwise, we're like robots. It never ends. Nothing ever ends. Just.
I wanted to start with the Rumi and that discussion, because I wanted to draw the line from there to Furugh Farrokhzad. As much as you find inspiration from the likes of Rumi and Hafez, as you've just explained, I've also seen you, Sussan, express some frustration about how great female writers or poets have been written out of Persian history for the most part. As you say, where are all the women who created works over the centuries? Because we know they existed, but we don't necessarily know about them. And so more recently, you found someone, albeit from the 20th century, who really resonated with you in Furugh Farrokhzad. Tell us why you wanted to turn your attention to her.
Well, first of all, when I lived in Iran, Furugh was, an icon for us. It was the hipsters paid attention to poetry of Furugh. Furugh was just beginning to have a much more bigger name in every household, and there was a lot of resistance towards her. Some people thought, "Oh, that's not poetry. It doesn't rhyme. It's not poetry. She's a vulgar eroticist or something." And everything about that was just so wrong, because when you read the poetry, it was so unveiled, so personal. It was emotionally so naked, and emotionally so naked, unveiled. All of that stuff was like, whoa, we need some of that for women to just be able to speak about their feelings and emotions and life in general, So we decided to do something with a big project with Furugh Farrokhzad to celebrate her life, her poetry, her struggles, so many of them, and her, her amazing talent, being so multifaceted in literature, a film editor, visually very sophisticated, and a very broken soul. It's a very existentialist who had to deal with a lot of prejudice, and a rebel. She was not like giving in to. She lived her life. She lived with her lover. They never married. That's like, whoa, what time? When was that in Iran? Amazing man. They exchanged so much, and they both flourished into these beings that were bigger than when they weren't together. So it became the reason why I got involved in that project. And I hope that after the Corona moment, we will tour the project in Europe and hopefully Canada too.
I hope so too. I should say it. So it premiered in, I guess, around 2015 in Los Angeles. It also was presented in the Met. You're such an interesting art. You really are the definition of multidisciplinary artist. You're singing songs, writing songs, music, dance, theater. I mean, you've kind of, it's like you're on the tour of all the fine arts throughout your lifetime, and you're quite masterful at all of them. I want to ask you a little bit about your story and how this all happened. Take me back to Iran and take me back to being a kid there. And before you entered the National Ballet at the age of 13, which is just one of your feats, what were you like as a kid growing up? How was your childhood growing up in Iran?
I never talk about that, actually. Nobody's asked me that question. My childhood was, I'm a pretty solitary person. I grew up in a very large family, 11 kids. I was the last one. You can imagine that you didn't have anything to say that anybody wanted to hear. And then I was really interested in learning. I was a first student. I was really into studying, and I was very, very solitary. I never had a toy. I wasn't interested. And so it was a very sort of meditative childhood in a way. But it all changed after I entered high school. And then a couple of years after, I met the Pars National Ballet of Mr. Nazemi. And that completely pulled me away from all my plans to follow some kind of scientific field in my future.
But you were clearly dancing. I mean, you can't just enter the National Ballet Company. So where did that interest come from? How did you get interested in ballet?
That's really came after I entered the school, my high school. And in literally very beginning of that time, I ran into a ballet class in my high school. And with this beautiful music, Chopin music, which they always play for ballet bars. So my friends and I checked it out. And there's this ballet class going on, which was kind of, those days you didn't see a ballet class all the time. So it was kind of like a joke for us to go and let's be a little naughty and go in. And we went in to see what it was. And Mr. Nazemi, the director, smiled to hear, very kind, very nice, invited us to sit down and watch the whole thing and said, you all should come back tomorrow and take the class. Just jokingly, literally jokingly, we all went back. That was it. I think it took me 2 ballet classes to completely feel like, oh my God, whatever this is, I'm coming back. And I did go back and know sciences. And then I just became an artist right after that. Then because the ballet company was affiliated with Persian National Television, and Persian National Television was affiliated with Jashn Honar, Shiraz Arts Festival, we were engaged to go there every summer to work with these amazing companies who would come from Europe or the US and be the hosts. And in these trips that I saw the work of, just really name it, any amazing international avant-garde artists in that time, Peter Brook, Bob Wilson, John Cage, Stockhausen, Indian classical music, Persian classical music, Hafiz Yildiz, Panur Parisa, Shajarian. There was just the information there at that festival was astounding variety of excellent programming, either with something that had with futurism, like modernism and progressive stuff, or completely showcasing roots, indigenous roots, whether it was classical music from Iran, Kecak from Indonesia. And so that for me was like, it became like a religion to have a foot in tradition and a foot in modernism. How do you bring it on? And it was a great festival in the sense that, there was no colonialistic aspect to that. They didn't put the Indian classical music with masters of North Indian music like Dagar brothers. They didn't put them in like some kind of a little place and then put like Bob Wilson on a Persepolis. You really experienced all these different artists in a way that was sensitively chosen spaces, sensitively, So, and that became, and that's where I met Bejar. And I asked him if I could work with him, and he said, come to Brussels and audition. And I left the sciences behind, and I went and auditioned for Bejar and entered his school. I was in Brussels 4.5 years, and his school was a performance arts school in which we studied any kind of dance you can imagine, day to night, and then theater, music.
رفتم در میخانه حبیبم خوردم دوست پیمانه خوردم دوست پیمانه من مست و تو دیوانه حبیبم من مست و تو دیوانه حبیبم ما را که برد خانه ما را که برد خانه.
What was that like being an Iranian girl? I guess you hadn't left Iran before that time, right? And you're in your late teens or something, and you're suddenly the world is open, and you're in Belgium in the Béjar Ballet. What was that adventure like for you?
Well, it was a dream. It was a complete dream. I mean, I was another Iranian, very dear friend, also from my company, Iranian-American. She had done this audition the year before. So when I went there, she was already there. And she, being a wonderful human being, she was taking care of me, making sure I had my, I was living in the same area with her, etc. So it was a dream, but I actually didn't speak French. I spoke English, but I didn't speak French. So, but since we spent so many hours dancing and working on physical work, originally it didn't matter. And the school was very, very multidimensional as well. What I really loved about Jashn Hunar, it sort of gave me some education as to how to approach the world of theater, the world of dance.
Sussan, would your expectation then in the late 70s, when you're at the school, when you're working in Belgium, would your expectation have been that you're going to return to Iran and that's where you're going to live?
Absolutely, was my intention. I had such a love affair with Iran, and especially I regret that there's so much of Iran outside of the cities that I wanted to experience. One of the things that my company in Iran did, every summer that I was in the company, they had campings in Caspian, and they would bring a lot of musicians and dancers from all regions of Iran to this camping so that my company would study these traditions from the real people coming from these places. And that was absolutely a blessing. I mean, there's so much joy involved in seeing the actual, real, traditional folk music from all over Iran. It was a blessing, absolute blessing. So I really, and I want to go back to Iran. I've decided I'm going to go back to Iran. So I'm announcing it out loud that I am going to go back to Iran sometime soon.
Wow. Have you been back over the years?
I have not. But
let me come back to that decision. Hang on, because that's a big one. But I'm guessing then. So in 1980, when you moved to New York, the fork in the road is I can go back to Iran, but there ain't going to be any dancing and singing anytime soon, or I just stay in the West. Is that right? And then you opt to continue doing your creative work by moving to New York?
Yeah. Absolutely. I went to New York the summer of, I think, 78 with the artistic director of my school in Béjar, was a Chinese-American man. Sadly, he passed. And he invited me to go to New York to take some classes in New York because the dance world in New York was really amazing in those days. So I spent like a month with him in New York and studied with all kinds of different dance classes. So I was kind of familiar with New York. And the year after I entered Maurice Béjar's ballet company, I was very unsatisfied with the reality of the ballet company. It was really, there was no intellectual activities. Everybody was in constant diets. And it just felt like this is not what I worked so hard for, to come out of Iran, to leave my family, to leave the sciences, and now suddenly just become like a ballet dancer. It just was really depressing for me. So I left the company, and it happened that I was young and obviously tough-headed, and I left in the middle of the hostage crisis.
Right.
That's when I moved to New York.
Great timing.
Great timing. And it was it was really lucky to get in because it was a long day at the airport. I did have a visa to go to Jamaica, which I hadn't done the year before. So that got me in, and then that was it. And then I got stuck in New York for 10 years and looking for, the usual.
How hard was it to not be able to go back?
It was hard, it was really hard, but I never, I don't know what it is about me. I'm usually, I try to be there and then very quickly in any situation that I'm in. So I don't spend too much time freaking out because I don't know, it's not going to help anything. We've had so many unexpected things thrown at us as Iranians the last 40 years, so many things, that the last thing you want to do is to freak out. So I figured it out. I was inspired by the art scene. The art scene in New York was like a mecca of progressive avant-garde, everything that I loved. And then I met my partner in life, Richard Horowitz, a year and a half after I moved to New York. And of course, he had just come back to the US after 10 years of being in Morocco and in France, and had studied North African trance music and Middle Eastern. He was just like an amazing person to run into because we spoke French. He had come from this incredible heritage of North African work. It was just so interesting, and a threshold for me to discover the trance music of sub-Saharan Africa, which is so sublime and something, a huge saga of its own, the roots. And so we became very close, and we started collaborating immediately. And our first album, Desert Equations, as etc., came out of those original days. And that was actually, it's going to get a re-release this year on vinyl.
Oh, wow.
And by Cramped Records, Cramped Disc, which is really very special because that album was so advanced for its time, not because it was advanced, it was just new. It was a hybrid of a lot of different kinds of things that we thought was important to do, but the scene it was very new. But yeah, it's all for artists. It's always hard. It's never easy for artists. It never ceases to be like it's always hard. I can tell you, hard. Always hard.
Which part of hard to hard are we talking about here? I mean, is it raising funds or censorship? I mean, there's a whole category of, we need subsections of hard, right?
Absolutely. It's always have to reach out. And very seldom someone comes to you and say, hey, I would like to commission you to do a piece like that. Every time you think about it. Right now, we're working on a project that's, again, one of these 2-year projects. It's going to take a long time, and called Forbidden Echoes. And again, it's going to be like going to square one. Hi, my name is SD. I've done these things in my life. I believe you have to support my work. It's like, come on, man. You guys should come to us.
There may be a comfortable corporate job available for you somewhere to check in 9 to 5 and, do your work and not have to deal with these issues.
Occasionally I think about it, I feel, but, especially when you've had the kind of path that some of us had, it's been years, you feel like you violate the integrity of the path if you don't follow it all the way.
Yeah, depending on the corporate gig you get, the improvisational path of life is not going to be as easy if that's what you're pursuing. What's interesting is when you talk about your decision to want to go back to Iran now. You left Iran more than 4 decades ago.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to me, the ties that we have. I mean, in my case, it's extraordinary because I didn't even grow up in Iran, and I feel this connection, right, to being Iranian. Looking at your art, we can see this very powerful connection to Iranian culture, and it almost feels like this connection has grown over the years. It's more visible than ever. It's stronger in the role that it plays in your work. Can you explore why you think that is? In other words, why didn't you leave and just become very American.
Despite all the issues, what's there not to love? Having been born in a culture like that, with such a density of fabric of the culture is so interesting. It's so profound, so beautiful, so sensual. I mean, I was born in that culture. What's there not to run away from? I mean, it's we just have to work on this culture to make it better, to make it more, be more about things that we love as opposed to things that we don't like. It's brought a lot of problems for me as an artist and as a woman. It's introduced a lot of challenges being Iranian in the US and abroad. And there's still a lot of prefabrication about the way you have to be and what your discourse is all about. You know, the discourse, people pull you in discourses that have to do with the most first degree aspect of politics, social issues, feminism, all the stuff that's like such a caricaturesque idea of what our reality is. And you have to do your best to duck out and duck in. Just like, I'm not going to go there. I don't want to my whole discourse to be about the projection of something I don't even care about. So that I'm going to spend my life talking about it to you. And if you have those kinds of ideas, you probably don't want to be even educated. So if the conversation is really first degree and it's pulling me into a sort of their prefabrication of Iranians being in some kind of a ghetto of our reality, it's like, no, don't speak to me.
What are you referring to when, I mean, what do people most get wrong about you based on, you know, some superficial reading of this Persian female artist that they see?
Why be a progressive artist? Why don't you do a folk album? Why don't you, like, you know, do a pop album for the Los Angeles community? They were wrong about certain kind of categorization of what I'm about. But we both had a vision and we both worked towards it. And everybody is learning and everybody tried to keep the integrity of their message. And also there are some very, very uptight Iranian people who are on the cultural scene internationally who have gone out of their way to say negative things about my musical work. And they have no idea of what my sources are.
Like what? What they don't like your interpretations?
Yeah, that I'm not classically trained in Persian classical music. I'm like, do you want to know all the things that I've been trained in music? All the other influences I've been trained in? Do you want to know what that is? And do you know why I'm not trained in Persian classical music? Because there's not enough time to be an excellent Persian classical singer and also learn how to deal with Ornette Coleman, Bobby McFerrin on stage as a jazz musician, right, and also deal with film music. There is just not enough time. Otherwise, I would have actually done it because I love that music. I mean, you could hear it in my singing that I'm a home girl. I love the music. I'm Italian about it. But it's the shortcomings. And these people are dangerous because, you know, I don't work in those milieus, but a lot of younger people who are trying to do experimentation with Iranian music and Western music, they're all being pigeonholed in this idea that they're like not authentic, they're bastardizing the music. But you got to teach them instead of like intimidate them that if you're not a great classical music, that you don't exist. No, they're working on it. You don't become a great classical music if you don't work on it. It's a craft. It takes time. It takes 10 years to just know the vocabulary of Persian classical music. Just the gushe and the kenar and the dastgah and the this and the that. It's not the way to intimidate the youth and have them go to corners and say, oh my God, so they're never going to accept me, so I'm going to do hip hop. There's a place for everything.
This is a good segue to playing another song of yours. I mean, I'm cognizant of the fact that I can't keep you here forever, and there's so many things that I want to ask you. I wanted to ask you about the collaboration with Sheena Nashat. There's a lot of things we could get to, but let me actually play a song from your most recent record, at least the one that came out last year, that called La Belle et la Bête. And because I feel like one of the ways that you are this ambassador for Iranian music or songs or poems is in your reinterpretations or interpretations of popular songs or songs from the past. and that connection is very vivid, your connection to Iranianness in that sense. This is a song called Elahe Naz, Angel of Grace. It's the lead-off track from this album that you put out last year. Let's take a listen to this. Little taste of Sussan Deyhim from the album that came out last year called La Belle et la Bête, and the song Elahe Naz, Angel of Grace. I'm very lucky to have my walking Persian pop music encyclopedia Shaya here, who explained to me that was a piece popularized by Banon in the 1950s. Tell me about your decision to cover material and do these interesting reinterpretations you do.
Well, I'm not a songwriter, I'm a composer. So my pieces are never really song-based. They're like a composition. They're a piece in which I do many voices, and then if I'm using a poem by Rumi or Furugh, it's still in the context of a contemporary classical composition. So this is actually my first album of songs that I've ever done, like literally. And it's because a lot of my friends who are wonderful and really sophisticated in milieus of like journalism or this and that, they said, "Are you a snob that you never have a song in which you sing extra songs?" I'm like, no, it's not something that I need to do. Many people do that.
You were shamed into proving you're not a snob?
I was ashamed to say. My friend said, finally, you did an album in which we understand the languages, because I also create a lot of my own languages when I compose. So we did this album for friends who wanted to hear me in a song format rather than a composition. And that's how it came about.
Sussan, how did the film and TV projects suddenly, you've done this spate of, it reads as quite an impressive resume at this point, of The Last Temptation, the Kite Runner, Unfaithful, Argo. How did you become this go-to person for all these soundtracks?
I think because I do certain kind of work with my voice that is really, first of all, everybody is aware that I'm an improviser, and they could just put me in a session, they're playing the film, they tell me what the content is. And so they don't want just a singer, they want the voice of the scene. So because I've been an actor and I've been a musician, I've been an improviser, so I basically find the resonance and the tonality of what would work for the scene. Is it a dramatic scene? Is it a percussive scene? So I think it's just because of my work was known to many of the composers, and they reached out, and I was happily collaborated with Alexander Desplat, who's an amazing composer. On Argo, we had a really great time. Peter Gabriel and Martin Scorsese, they had almost finished Last Temptation of Christ, and they were looking for the music for one scene, and they didn't know what it should be. They wanted to be voiced, but they didn't want it to be traditional. They didn't want it to be like classical opera or something. So this friend of ours from Music Archive in New York called, said, they're looking for someone to raise Lazarus from the dead. I said, I'll be there.
I'm your girl.
And it was, yes, we went there and I improvised certain vocal improvisations, which in New York scene, we would call them extended vocal techniques. It's the kind of work that we did also in Europe. Stockhausen is a person who was very advanced in that. So yeah, it's kind of lamentation and.
By the way, I would have just quit right after that. I would have being asked by Gabriel to be on that album, which is one of the iconic, the best soundtracks of all time. I would have just been like, okay, my work is done here. Let's go to the island and while away the years here. I've reached the top of the mountain. It
was a wonderful, wonderful collaboration, and we did it there and then. I was in the studio. I did 3 tracks, and they said, "This is it," and I'm like, "Great, and we had it was great. It was definitely and Peter Gabriel had a very big opera project in which they wanted to cast me as a shaman living at the airport. And we were so into that. And unfortunately, September 11th happened, and it was supposed to open in New York, and the whole thing just fell apart. Oh. So we didn't do a lot more collaborations then. But
Sussan, Argo was a difficult one for a lot of us in the Iranian community. Some folks saw it as straight up anti-Iranian. Some didn't like some of the interpretations. And did you get pushback? Did you get any reaction from your fans working on Argo?
You know, I didn't personally, but I followed the discourse. And when I was asked to do the film by Alexander Desplat, I said, you know, I'm very sensitive to Iran and all things Iran. I need to see the script. And he said, that's really difficult to send you, but I'll see what I can do. So I think they spoke to Ben Affleck and George Clooney as the producers. They were okay. They sent me the script. And at that point, I read the script, and the script didn't show me anything that was not cool. And the fact that George was involved was like, you know, this is a true story. And I was actually astounded, like, wow, this is true. Wow, how did that happen? Mm-hmm. So when we finished the film and the film came out, suddenly there were like 2 million other versions of that film, and the fact that it was actually a Canadian agent, not an Iranian agent. And the whole thing just became sad. But just to be on the score part of it, my work with Alexander Desplat was really super interesting. And, you know, so from that perspective, it was still an interesting experience for me. But Iranians were offended. And I think the reflection from the other side was, hey, it's Hollywood, it's comedy. Don't take it too seriously. But it's hard. It's hard to...
Yeah, that was a difficult film for me. I didn't. I'm one of those people that had some issues with that one. But I also think Alexandre Desplat is amazing, and I can't begrudge you wanting to work with him or doing the kind of collaboration you've done with him. It is such a great pleasure to get to talk to you. Thank you for all the time you've given us. I want to go out on that piece that we referenced earlier from 2014 that I just love. It's with our common friend Arshida Azarine, and it's a song called Marabebous. Tell us about this piece before we play it.
Well, Arshid and I were looking for something to do collaboration-wise, and then I was in Paris, and we were in the studio in his house. Actually, we tried kind of to improvise, and then this song came up, and I started doing something, he started doing something, and we just both felt like, this could be an interesting, because he wanted to do a tango version, and so we both thought that was something that was worth exploring, and we did. We went for it, and a couple of years after the song came out, and as you know, this song has such a history because it's a song that is associated with the coup d'etat in Iran, associated with the departure of the lyricist from Iran, and he wrote it in the last night of his departure, and he apparently called the composer and read the lyrics at the airport. So it's attached to a lot of Iranian recent culture that people really care about. I like the fact that it's become a song that finally I have a song in a Persian household that is not too avant-garde, and it's not too this, and it's not too that. And doesn't have too many tahrir, so people can say that I missed the third gushe of the fourth. So it's just... So yeah, finally I am in Persian household.
You're Persian household friendly. It's a beautiful piece. I'm thrilled to go out on it. Thank you again. Kheli mutshakkaram. Thank you.
Talking to you. Thank you.
Khodafis. Bye-bye. Sussan Deyhim, an Iranian-American composer, vocalist, performance artist, and activist. You can see her online gallery at sussandeyhimgallery.com. Sussan joined us from Los Angeles today.
مرا ببوس مرا ببوس برای آخرین بار خدا تو را نگهدار که می روم به سوی سرنوشت بهار ما گذشته گذشته ها گذشته منم به جستجوی سرنوشت مرا ببوس ببوس مرا ببوس ببوس مرا ببوس ببوس مرا ببوس ببوس در میان طوفان هم پیمان با قایق رانم گذشته از جان باید بگذشت از طوفان‌ها به نیمه شب‌ها دارم با یارم پیمان‌ها که بر فروزم آتش‌ها در کوهستان‌ها شب سیاه سفر کنم ز تیره ره گذر کنم نگه کنه گل من سرشک غم به دامن برای من میفکن
How good is that?
She's amazing.
The silky vocals of Sussan Deyhim, performing there with our dear friend Arshid Azareen on the piano there. Microphones are obviously back on for the fabulous Keon, Captain Reza, and the groovy Shaya. Did you enjoy that, Keon?
I cannot wait to watch her live. I can't wait for COVID, all of this to end so we can actually see her. She's fabulous.
She's lovely, yeah. What an interesting interview to do. Shaya?
I love Sussan. Sussan Deyhim. You know, I love her, and you know, she's not making music for just partying or for being like a happy music or some. She created music to think about it, to to study the music, not.
Yeah, I'd say she's an intellectual composer, if anything. Like she tries, it's all layered. I really enjoy her music, and I really loved what she said about we should give the youth a chance. Let them get creative with different methods of making music, so that they don't discourage them. And it kind of, you know what it reminded me of what Chef Haas said about creating food. It's sort of the same thing. Like let's not be so strict about our recipes. Let's get creative, because that's when creativity blossoms, and you can actually come up with new stuff that can be very inventive and interesting.
The diversity of what she does is so impressive to me. And I loved what she said earlier, just when we were talking about, she said, I have to go listen back to it now that we've done it. But she said something about, I want to live my life improvisationally. I want, her goal is to live every moment like it's the last moment. It's a tough thing to do.
It is very tough, but I think she's actually doing it from what I hear.
Well, sort of. I mean, I think you can't do that and have as busy a schedule as she has. And, I mean, I think that's why I was saying, well, do you have a day calendar? What do you mean improvisational? How do you live your life like that? But the idea of not tightly scripting one's life, so
and
that letting go, and that, because you don't know what's going to happen.
It's the beauty of life.
Well, the beauty and the tough part of life is you just don't know what's around the corner. So why not live it? Live every moment in the present. Live life improvisationally, I guess. Yeah.
Pursuit of pleasure. That's my motto.
That's something else.
Smoke a doobie after the show.
No, every moment should be enjoyed. I don't think a lot of people do that. Why don't you just enjoy every day?
But what about things that are not enjoyable, like
Like
like a family member being sick?
Well, of course, that's not enjoyable, but that's not in your control. But whatever you have in your control, you should try to enjoy every moment. Like, you should stress less.
But
you know?
when you improvise your life, you have to prepare for some grief, some sadness sometimes, and it's not always about enjoying life.
Yeah,
No,
Keelan.
but the part that you can control over, the part that's out of your hands, you should enjoy, I think.
Yeah, Shaya.
Yeah, Shaya.
Jian.
like Jian.
Whose team are you on,
You should
Jian?
let go. If you gain a few
I
weight.
just try to get these two.
Just trying to stir the
It's
fight
Monday.
up.
Let's get to the letters of the week.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that.
And he gets closer to the mic each week, It started as this little thing. Now it's like, he's right on the mic. Bia.
All right. If you guys don't already know, we posted an incredibly embarrassing home video of the Roqe Team at a Nowruz get together, and it's all done in Farsi, if you can even call it that. It's a loose term, that Farsi.
اصلا این حرفا نزن. خیلی خوب بود، خیلی فارسی، خیلی عالی با لهجه.
Accent.
If you want more of that, watch the video. All right, so on YouTube we have Neda Jansipar wrote, "How lovely the whole lot of you are. Really. Happy Nowruz. Perhaps Shaya should just stop everything else he does in life and teach J and K some Farsi. Though it might not then be as much fun listening to your perfect lahje."
You see? Thank you, Neda. It's a good suggestion. You could take some more
Yeah,
Farsi
Shaya,
lessons.
you could really make a side business from that. All right, then we have username on YouTube Farhood, not Farhad SM.
Right. Farhood.
He's changed his username to that?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, so he writes, "You guys didn't follow the tradition properly. You're supposed to argue about whether it used to be half sheen or half seen. I presume it was edited out. Adorable. Quick thoughts. The rumors are true. Captain Raza is wildly handsome.
What? Oh my god. Farhood is my new favorite person.
Ponta, your haircut is incredibly cute. You remind me of a 60s French actor.
Yes.
Kian, you look just like a previous Miss Idaho." All right, so I'm going to find where you live, Farhood, and I will kill you.
Miss Idaho.
I know.
That is obviously
my
not a
God.
compliment.
That means you're, I guess, very...
Butchy? I don't know what to say. I don't know what to think of that.
oh, no.
All right, we'll get to you. You laugh now, Jian, but we'll get to you.
I'm familiar with this letter. It's okay. I know what's coming.
Shaya,
Yes.
hi.
Hi.
So, yeah.
That's all he
Who
says.
doesn't like you, remember?
Yeah.
He doesn't say anything about you.
I know that, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Well,
I can't wait to meet this Farhood.
At least he didn't call you Miss Idaho, Shaya. So there
I'm
you go.
happy you are in my team, Kian. Let's find
I
this
think
guy.
Miss Idaho it means you're...
Okay, let's just leave that.
You're
okay?
natural.
Anyway, you shut your mouth right now. Jian, have a seat,
Oh,
please.
I know.
Are you comfortable?
This was the letter that traumatized me. Trust me.
Are you comfortable? Great.
Yes, yeah.
Listen, you were topol during Christmas. It was nice. You looked healthy. Now you're transitioning to kopol. برادر، عزیز، جیگر، داداش، دایی، آخابی. پاشو یکم بدو. Love from Vancouver.
You see?
#Roqe Snob.
I tell you. Oh.
By the way, Farhood, you're the reason you ruined Jian's day today.
Farhood better be cut. That's all I want. He better be like he better be like The Rock, He better be absolutely shredded, saying these things about us. Yeah.
I don't know.
All
I love
right,
Farhood though.
moving on. Yeah, you would, Raza.
I know.
Oh, so khoshti.
Yeah.
Shut your mouth. Well, then we have Ali Zakir wrote, "Happy Nowruz to you all, Roqe Team. What a nice gathering. Well, Jian is one of my dearest. I just miss seeing him. But it's nice to finally see the other team members and put a face to the lovely voices we listen on the episodes. I'm sure you had a great time together. Wish you and your loved ones the best of health and happiness in this new year and many years ahead. Keep up the good work. I enjoy being around this lovely and magical voice."
Oh,
There you go, a compliment,
Thank you very much.
Jian.
Finally, somebody has not something nice to say.
All right, then on Instagram we have Ehsan Hutkani wrote, "I always wanted
Utkani? Kani?
I don't know.
Ehsan Hutkani, let's say. He says, "I always wanted to see the whole Roqe Team. It's one of my favorite podcasts. Happy Nowruz.
Thank you, Essa.
And then we have Eli Doost, wrote in Persian, Farsi, and I
Finglish.
Finglish, yes. Well, I translated it to
Oh, you
Finglish
did?
with
Oh.
my grade 3
dear.
reading
So we have no
skills.
idea what she really said.
I can read, okay, very slowly.
Oh, come on, Miss
She
Idaho, go
wrote. Well, Eli Doost says, عاشقتونم. نوروز مبارک به همه رک تیم. اگر کامنت منو نخونید تو برنامه ناراحت میشم.
There you
There
go.
you go.
Eli Doost.
You won't
Your
be
wish is our
ناراحت now.
command, yeah.
And then we have username CA_Marianez. It's a Persian person, by the way. I don't know why Marianez, but anyway. Says, Happy Nowruz, Roqe Team. Jian, don't be disappointed. At least you can dance better than many who speak Farsi, including me.
That's true, actually.
That's actually true.
Very
You dance
true.
very well.
You're a very good
it's
dancer.
Actually, yeah.
Yanni, you just figured that out, eh? All
No,
these
no.
years, you never noticed that I can
No, even though you can sing like Pavarotti,
I can dance like
Khordadyan.
Justin Timberlake.
Khordadyan is the best.
All right, then we have Samira Arya wrote, Happy Nowruz to the Roqe Team. Love the half-scene video and the sabzi polo looked tasty. We were so happy to meet the team. And Jian, you cut the fresh sabzi like a pro.
Thank you.
Eid Shama Mubarak. Look
Thank
at all
you,
these
Samira.
compliments.
Thank you.
And not a single person besides Farhood called you fat. So there we go.
Farhood's the only honest one. Miss Idaho.
Anyway, we have Tanaz.
Miss Idaho.
I'm going to go kill myself.
No.
All right, then we have Tanaz Asifi wrote, Thank you for sharing this sweet video. Very well done to Jian and Kian to sticking to speaking Farsi. You both did so well. Nowruz Mubarak.
Thanks, Tanaz.
I think she was just being very sweet.
Yes.
And then we have Pegita Mahmoudzadeh wrote, Happy Nowruz to you, Jianjan, and the Roqe Team. Wish you much more success and brighter days ahead. Such a sweet and wonderful idea to share your celebration and gathering video with all of your audiences. Your sabzi polo mahi looked very yummy, and I also loved your sofreya half scene. In my opinion, only with this short video alone, you broke many glasses of people's sorrow already.
That's a reference to the poem in the video. If you guys haven't seen the video yet, go check it out and you'll see.
Are you going to try
that,
saying it one more
that
time?
reference is. I will not, but I will say the Sofreya Haftin. We should do a shout out to Thoughtful Nagin, who you don't see in the video, but she helped us put that beautiful, beautiful Haftin together. So thank you very much, Thoughtful Nagin.
All right, then we have Nasim Ob wrote, Happy Nowruz to all of you at Roqe Team. Thank you for bringing us so many wonderful stories from the diaspora last year. You helped us connect with our roots. Wishing you all a wonderful year ahead. Beautiful.
You're doing the voice again, Keith.
It's hard not to
Happy
do.
Nowruz to the. How do you know that this woman speaks that way?
It's just-
Thank you for
it's-
bringing us wonderful stories from the diaspora this year. You helped us. First of all, it's like a bit British and like
Yeah, she does
it's
put
like
a
the
British
Queen or
spin to
something.
it.
You helped us connect to our roots. Wishing you all a wonderful year ahead from Buckingham Palace.
Buckingham Palace.
That's my reading voice.
I don't know why.
That's how
Why
I
don't you
learn
just be
English.
yourself?
I can't. I can't do it.
I just think that, does she know this person?
She wrote it
Naseem?
so
And then I realized they
poetically.
all talk that way in your mind. I am wishing you all,
God.
from myself and Philip,
Miss Idaho
we're wishing
can't
you
catch a
all
break
a
today.
wonderful year ahead.
All right, so Ali
On this
Shah-
Nowruz, let us think of Churchill and our English roots.
All right, so we got Ali Sharma who wrote. Ali Sharma wrote, Jian's Farsi is better than I thought.
ببین.
See, it's better when I do it with the voice.
آره دیگه. یه کسی okay, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, so Jian's Farsi is better than I thought. First of all, he's a liar, but moving on. So cute to see you guys interact and sharing a fun and happy time. Happy Nowruz to the amazing Roqe Team.
Yeah, that was. I mean, we did that for the cameras. As soon as Captain Reza turned the camera off, it was back to being morose and walking around.
We hate each other in real life.
complaining.
So it's all fake, by the way. All right, on that note, we have the letter of the week. All right, this week's letter of the week goes to Amir Hossein Amin Sharifi.
Oh,
So he writes,
quite a name.
This video is so amazing. Thanks a lot, Jianjan and the Roqe Team, for sharing. The discussion about the 7 S's in Hafsin table set was interesting to me in that, regardless of the reasons, it could connect and gather you and all of us around the table. Very true. Your genuine feelings and happy moments again proves the magic of Nowruz, this incredible time of year to connect with nature, heal our souls, think of beloved ones, love others, and feel positivity about the upcoming year. Nowruzatan Piruz.
Thank
That's
you.
beautiful. Thank you.
By the way, Amir Hussein sounds like the other person.
Okay, that's
Your
my
genuine feelings and happy moments again prove the magic of Nowruz. This year, give to other English people through the cause of charity. The Queen's Foundation.
ژیان جان یه کمی چاق نشدی راستی فکر کنم خیلی زیادی برنج داری میخوری.
I feel good about myself today.
No, you look great. I'm kidding.
Today I feel good about myself. 2 weeks ago, or whatever it was, a week ago when we made this thing, I mean, oh, what a disaster.
All right. Well,
Amir Hussein Amin Sharifi, was it? Who's got the letter of the week?
Amir Hussein Amin Sharifi.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you guys who've written to us and posted on our social media. And we really appreciate your letters, and we really appreciate your support and your Nowruz wishes. And congratulations on the letter of the week, Amir Hussein.
Woo.
All right, well, that is full time for Roqe for today. Thank you so much to everybody. Thank you to Sussan Deyhim, our featured guest today. Remember, our website, roqemedia.com, is where you can find all things Roqe and support us and become a patron. roqemedia.com. Thanks to the amazing team who put this show together each week. Producer Susan, Ponce the artist, Tafel Nagin, the fabulous Kian, Sabi Roham, Aghay Mehtad, Master Muhammad, Chef Haas, Captain Reza, and Groovy Shaya. Thank you to all of you out there supporting us and sharing our content. Please subscribe on any or all of our platforms if you have not done so already. You can find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi. Mizun Bashi.